Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about using our destiny for curation in many different ways. Curation covers so many different things. It not only covers how to build your collection and keep track of the things in your collection, but also how to manage it and to help your patrons find what they need to do. I'm going to use Destiny because that seems to be the most common platform for the state. And what I've done is I've given you a link so that you can access the library webpage. And I've also given each group special access so that you can log into My Destiny for my school district as librarians, and you can see what to do. So here we are on my library webpage. Once you're here, you are going to click to search the library catalog. Click My School and log in. Now I'm going to log in under my account and I will sign in for Google. However, you have been given usernames and passwords for the Destiny account. And your username and password is also your group name. So for example, if you're in group Super Duper, your username is super.duper and your password is superduper, all one word without the dot and all lowercase. Let me sign in with my Google account so that you can see my things. Here we are. And this is the same view that you will be getting once you log in. Now, I would like to first go into the boring stuff. Let's go into reports and library reports. Weeding is painful for a lot of librarians. We have great books in our collections. Most of them are books that are near and dear to our hearts. And sometimes it's hard to get rid of books. So you have to be a little bit ruthless and you have to have a system. And if you have a system, then you don't feel so bad about getting rid of books. Instead of looking at these wonderful old, I don't know, Nancy Drew books or something that you loved when you were a kid, and yeah, they haven't been checked out in 2 years, but gosh, they're really awfully good books and you really hate to throw them out. So instead of looking at reading that way, you look at it objectively. And one way to do that is by age of your collection. So I'm going to go down here to statistics and I'm going to do collection statistics summary. Once I am in this section, then I will be able to look at my collection and kind of look at it a little more objectively. I'm going to start with the Dewey collection today. Here we go. And we can do this by circulation or age. We're not going to look at the value because we don't care what a book cost when we got it, right? We just want to see kind of either how often they circulate or how old our collection is. Now, of course, we're under quarantine and school is closed. So oddly enough, these books have not circulated at all this month. And because this year, you know, they didn't have a great many circulations before we went into quarantine. So let's go to age. And now this section will teach us the average age of a collection. And of course, my computer is being extremely slow. Here we are. We are going with our lovely average age. And I want to go down here to the 800s because this is where I keep my literature and my poetry and things like that. And these are books that do not get checked out a great deal. So when I don't see them come across my desk, it's harder to tell what needs weeded and what doesn't. So let's go into the 800s. And wow, look at that. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. Over here 810 to 819, which is specifically the area that I wanted to look for, especially the 811 and 812 for poetry and literature and so on. I can see that those books are quite old indeed. The average age for that collection is 1995. Woo! All right. In 1995, I was pretty darn young. Okay, so that gives me a really good idea that I definitely want to weed that collection and go through it. However, if I go back again, I'm going to go back to library reports. And this is something that is kind of a weird little glitch that Destiny has. If you just use the back arrow, quite frequently it shuts down and says, oh, we can't show that again. Are you absolutely sure you want to go back again? And then things get all messed up. So I'm going to go back to age here. And although I know that the 800 section is one section that I specifically wanted to focus on, I can look at my entire Dewey collection here and say, yep, I'm going to take the oldest part, the oldest section, and I'm going to weed that first. And for me, that is obviously going to be the 200s. That doesn't surprise me at all either. I did notice that my world religion section in the 100s was pretty old, so I was going to weed that and get that taken care of. So this is a really good idea of where to look for when you really need to weed. Now, another part of curation is getting the books that are useful to your patrons. For that, I'm going to look at resource lists. I'm going to go over here to catalog and to resource lists on the side. For resource lists, this is where you really have to know your school population, because you have to know the issues that they personally are dealing with. There are a few issues in my school that have come to the forefront since I started working here. This is my 3rd year at this school, so I've gotten to know the students pretty well. When I first got here, I was talking mostly to the teachers about what kind of things they would like to see. So I put up a resource list for fairy tales because I had several grades doing that. I had my counselor ask me to do a list for National Disability Awareness Month, so I did that. But just this year, in talking to some students, I've seen some other things come to the forefront. I'm a K through 8 school, and I've seen a little bit of bullying going on, and that seemed to increase the past couple of years. So I wanted to put books about bullying up there. Also, we have just started an alliance, a straight gay alliance club in my school, and I wanted to support that, so I made a resource list about LGBTQ+. And my school is pretty vanilla. It's mostly Caucasian, with just a few students of other races. And those students kind of get called out a little bit. So I definitely wanted to do a list on racism and prejudice. Now I'm going to view that list. You can see that I've made it public so that anybody can see it who logs into my list, and they don't even have to log in to see the list. They can just go to my website and look, and they'll be able to see it. But let's go to racism and prejudice, I think. We're going to view that. Now these are students, and you can see that my default is to sort them by call number. These are books not only about racism and prejudice, but these are books that have characters in them who deal with racism and prejudice. And you can see that I've also got, besides my regular books, I've also got my resources for ebooks and audiobooks in this section as well. And if you're logged in with an account to my school, you can open those books right from the website. If I want to go ahead and add more books, for example, I haven't really gone through this list and added books. I'm going to go ahead and on my, oops, sorry about that, that's circulation. I'm going to go ahead and do a library search on racism. And because that was the last list I opened, that's going to be my selected list up here. So if I do a quick search on racism, then I can go down and look at books that have been added to my collection since I've made this list. And I can see over here which ones are on the list and which ones are not. And this one is a really good one, an ebook called White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. Yep, I'm going to add that to the list. I think that's a great idea. And you cannot add books to the list if you're not the creator of the list. Oh, that's a good one too. Let's do that one. So you should really think about your own population. Think about the important issues in your school and what kind of lists you want to do for them. Now, if you want to focus on teaching resources for your teachers, that's awesome, like I did with the fairy tales books. I'm also going to be doing a list of books on biomes, so that to help out one of my science teachers who does a big unit on biomes every year. So you're going to be able to do that as well. But I really suggest that you start making some resource lists for your teachers and for your parents and for your students, because especially things like bullying or LGBTQ+, these students don't always want to come up to your desk when the class is in there and ask for books like these. And if you have the resource list, then they can go on their own and look at these books without calling attention to themselves. I have several students who are struggling with gender identity issues. They don't know what they are, and they think they might be non-binary, but they're really not sure. And they're not ready to come out yet, and they're not ready to talk to people about it yet. So by making these resource lists, they can find the books on their own. Also, your students can make their own lists. So if I wanted to add a list and as a patron and just label it my list, then I could move books that I want to read into that list. And then I would be able to go and check my list every once in a while and say, oh, I haven't read that book yet. And then I could go to the library and check it out. And of course, during this lovely quarantine time, they're going to be able to go into this list and check out ebooks and audiobooks too. And that just makes it easy for them. So that's what I wanted to show you. That's a great start for getting your lists ready and your curation ready. If you get back into your libraries this year and can weed and can start to physically handle your books again, that would be a great task to set yourself before the new school year starts. Thanks very much.